Hey guys, how are you? So today's video, this will be a series of videos. The book will be Peak of Eloquence. In Arabic, in Urdu, it's Nahjul Balaghah. And this book is basically the sermons, the letters, and the sayings of Imam Ali ibn Ali Talib. So Imam Ali was the cousin of Muhammad from Islam, and during this series of videos on this book that I will be posting, we will understand what sort of a character, what sort of a man was he. So let us begin. So it starts with it's about the book. It's like this book is a translation of the sermons, letters, and sayings of Imam Ali. It was originally compiled in Arabic by Sayyid Razi under the caption Nahjul Balaghah, which means Peak of Eloquence. The sermons and preachings of Imam Ali were so highly valued and venerated in the Islamic world that within a century of his demise, they were taught and read as the last word on the philosophy of monotheism, and as the most effective sermons towards pity, a guiding beacon towards truth and justice, marvelous eulogies of the Holy Prophet and the Holy Quran, convincing discourses of the spiritual values of Islam. So let's start with how Imam Ali was, according to this book. Okay, so who wrote this? I didn't know his name, but it was published. I mean, there are several translations of Nahjul Balaghah, but I will mention the name of the person who compiled specifically this book. Okay, so a chapter comes in and it says a profile of Imam Ali. So it starts with Imam Ali, the commander of the faithful, was the first cousin of the Holy Prophet. His father, Abu Talib, and the father of the Holy Prophet, Abdullah, were the sons of Abdul Muttalib, from the same mother, Fatima. And the name of Imam Ali's mother was also Fatima, the daughter of Asad, the son of the famous Hashim, that was a tribe. Thus his parents were cousins. Imam Ali was born on the 13th Rajab, 23 years before Hijrah. Historians say that he was born inside of the Kaaba. So I don't know how authentic this is, but I will be doing more research on these things. I do have some references that I will be mentioning in the coming videos and all of that. So I will be mentioning some references, the videos that I researched on this particular matter, that he was born in the Kaaba or not, but that is a video for another day, but I will be making those researched videos. So he was born in the inside of Kaaba. At the time of his birth, his father and his cousin Muhammad, the Holy Prophet, were out of Makkah. His mother gave him the names of Asad and Haydar. His father called him Zayd. But when the Holy Prophet returned to the city, he took his cousin in his charge and gave him the name of Ali, saying that it was the name decreed for him by Allah. Okay? And his other titles were Murtaza, the chosen one, Amirul Mu'mineen, the commander of the faithful, and Imamul Muttaqeen, the leader of the pious and the God-fearing. So he was seen as a character, as a persona, that he was so kind, he was so generous, he was a leader, he was a father, and he was one of the most pious man a person can look up to after the Prophet. I mean, there are some political or theological differences when it comes to Sunni Muslim and Shia Muslim, but according to me, it is totally my opinion. It is totally my opinion that both of the parties hide, and both of the parties, there are differences. Both of the parties, some do not research on a molecular level, and they just come up with their own ideas. Both parties. It's not just like you're pointing fingers at people and you're saying that he's right, he's wrong. There are wrongs in specific group, there are rights in specific group, and vice versa. Okay, so let us enter the book. So this book comes with sermons of this man, and let me go through one of the first sermons and how he looked like, how this book describes. The famous historian and biographer Imam Ali bin Muhammad says, Imam Ali was a man of middle height, with black, big and piercing eyes, very handsome and fair complexion, broad shoulders, powerful arms, broad chest, strong hands, a long muscular neck, a broad forehead, and a little hair on the top of his head. He used to walk with very light gait, and he was very agile in his movements. He had a smiling face, pleasing manners, kind disposition, and a courteous behavior. He would never lose his temper. He was born 3 years before the marriage of the Prophet with Lady Khadija. Soon after his birth, the Prophet took him under his care, and Ali was like a son to him. He used to live with the Prophet and used to sleep with him. He was fed by him, washed and dressed by him, and even cared by him in his household whenever he would go out. When the Holy Prophet married Khadija, she adopted this child as her son. Imam Ali himself has described his childhood saying, I was still a newborn baby when the Holy Prophet took me from my parents. I used to cling to him and he used to feed me. And when I grew a little older, he never found me uttering a lie or a deceit. To me, he was like a guiding star, and I used to follow his actions and deeds carefully. I was attached to him like a foal of camel, attached to his mother. He used to place before me high values of morality, and he used to advise me to follow them. Every year, he would spend some days at the grotto of the Mount Hira, the cave where the Prophet used to go worship. And I used to be with him. I was his only companion then, and none else would meet him at Hira. There I used to see the light of revelation and used to smell the fragrance of the prophethood. Once the Holy Prophet told me, Ali, you have attained a very eminent place. You see what I see, and you hear what I hear. Once the Holy Prophet told Imam Ali, O Ali, Allah has ordered me to keep you near me. You are to me like an ear that retains everything, because yours are the retaining ears that the Holy Quran, the Holy Book, has praised. So he said Holy Prophet had named him the gateway of knowledge and wisdom. And it is mentioned in Sunan Tirmidhi. This is a hadith compiled sayings of the Holy Prophet and the Sahabas, the companions of the Holy Prophet. So I would like to mention one of the incidents that happened with Imam Ali. It was like, it was war. It goes like, in the battle of Nahrawan, Imam Ali himself was fighting like any other ordinary soldier. During this battle, a man came to face him, and in the encounter lost his sword. Okay, so he realized his hopeless plight of standing before Ali without any weapon in hand. Ali's hand was raised for a blow. When he saw the opponent trembling with fear, he lowered his hand slowly and said, "Run away, friend. You are not in a position to defend yourself." This attitude made the man bold, and he said, "Ali, why don't you kill me? It would have made one enemy less for you." Now, look at what Imam Ali replied with. Ali replied, "I cannot strike a man who cannot defend himself. You were begging for your life and it was spared." The opponent got bolder and said, "I am told that you have never refused a beggar. Now I beg you of your sword. Will you grant it to me?" Ali handed him over the sword. Taking possession of the sword, he said, "Now Ali, who is going to defend you against me and save you from my killing blow?" Now listen to what he said in reply. He replied, "Of course Allah will defend me if He so wills. He has appointed my death to be my guardian angel." Now listen to this. He has appointed my death to be my guardian angel. Now, we look at death as, like wherever you go. Obviously, it is also mentioned in the Quran that even if you're anywhere in the world, death will find you. It's like death is looking for you your whole life. And once you reach that particular circumstance or your situation or location, when it is written in your kismat, in your nasib, it will happen even if you're in fortified mansions, castles, or in a bunker. You will be taken over by death. So he says that he has appointed my death to be my guardian angel. No one can harm me before it is due, and no one can save me when it arrives. Nobility of thought and action affected the foe, and he kissed the bridle of the Ali's horse and said, "O master, you are a great man indeed. You cannot only forsake the life of your enemy in a battlefield, but also you can grant him your sword. May I have the honor to act as your bodyguard and to fight for you?" Imam Ali replied, "Friend, fight for truth and justice, and don't fight for individuals." So this is really important. Even if you believe in this man or not, Imam Ali, like he said, "Friend, fight for truth and justice, and don't fight for individuals." Understand this very carefully, that when you fight for your family, you are fighting by generating emotions. Even if your family, your friends, or your wife, or your husband, or your kids, or any relation exists in your life, obviously it's emotional based, but is it moral based? One should think about it, that so you should fight for the truth and the right thing, for the justice, and not for the individuals, because this way you will be interlinked, you will be tangled in the emotions that you're fighting. Sometimes your parents are doing something wrong and their actions are wrong, and sometimes you are wrong and you're tangled in your emotions that it's your ego, it's your pride. So yeah. So now comes the major battles that were done in the Islamic period and how Imam Ali was part of it. It starts with the Battle of Badr. The first of these battles was that of Badr. It took place in the month of Ramadan in 2 AH. Muslims were not prepared for a battle and could ill afford to fight against the superior forces. But Medina was being invaded, and the Holy Prophet was forced to defend himself and his followers. He decided to leave Medina and fight out the battle in an open field. He had only 313 Muslims who were not adequately armed for a battle. Many of them were in dread of an encounter and were suffering from inferiority complex. The Quraysh had come with an army of about 1,000 warriors and had frightened the Muslims. The battle took place and about 36 Quraysh were killed by Imam Ali. Some of them were famous warriors of Quraysh, and most of them were those who had surrounded the house of Prophet on the night of migration. During the encounter, he was wounded, but by his bravery and courage, he brought home to Muslims that he would act as the first line of defense for Islam, and they had no cause to suffer from inferiority complex, and that Allah would defend them against heavy odds. Amongst Quraysh were there 2 sworn enemies of Islam, Abu Jahl and Abu Sufyan. These were the uncles of Prophet Muhammad. And in the battle of Abu Jahl was killed. And in this battle, Abu Jahl was killed. And Imam Ali was hero of this battle and brought the first victory to Islam in armed encounters with its enemy. Now comes the Battle of Uhud. The second most important battle was that Uhud, Quraysh, and their leader Abu Sufyan. Okay, so in the first one Abu Jahl died, and now this one was against Abu Sufyan. Okay, so Abu Sufyan were smarting under the defeat of Badr and had sworn to retaliate. The idol worshippers were burning for revenge. They made formidable preparations for another encounter and succeeded in obtaining assistance of Tahama and Kanana tribes. These were tribes. Abu Sufyan's wife Hinda, mother of Muawiyah, took keen interest in all arrangements and preparations. She had written poems to excite Quraysh against Islam and had organized a band of women who accompanied the army of Quraysh to the battlefield. Thus they had mobilized an army of 3,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. The Holy Prophet could muster only 700 Muslims to face this horde. They faced each other in the battlefield of Uhud. The battle took place on the 11th Shawwal 3 AH. The command of Muslim army was divided between Imam Ali and Hamza and Abu Sufyan, and appointed Khalid bin Walid, Ikrimah bin Abu Jahl, and Amr bin As as the three commanders to command the right and left ranks and the front respectively. So this is totally my opinion, that when it comes to hadith, when it comes to history, as history was passed on by people, and the holy book was, obviously it was passed on by people, but we have this understanding, and there are proofs for this, that the compilation of the Holy Quran has not been changed. Okay, and some people claim that the hadith are also not changed, but this is totally my opinion, that yes, it can be changed to a certain degree, because these are events, okay, that were passed on by people. But when you read the Quran, there are events in it, but the events that we see, that we read in the Quran, are similar to Bible. Okay, they're minor changes. Okay, and mostly it's about moral rules, how you should live your life on moral grounds. You know, that is the difference. One of the major differences between the other holy books and the Quran is that every religion does give moral values, moral rules to live by, you know. But yeah, I will be doing certain videos on that too, on other religions and also the Quran. So let us continue with this. The first encounter took place between Imam Ali and Taha ibn Abi Talha. This encounter carries with it an incident of marvelous chivalry by Ali. Talha suffered defeat at the hands of Ali and died. He was the standard bearer of Quraysh's army. His death brought his 4 sons and 1 grandson to face Ali, and each one of them was killed by him, and other standard bearers followed them and were in the turn killed by Ali. Then a general encounter took place in which Ali and Hamza carried the day, and Muslims came out victorious, but eagerness for spoils threw the ranks of Muslims' army into disorder. Ali, however, tried to keep them in order, but they were out of control. Khalid bin Walid immediately attacked them from the rear and the flank. He wounded the Prophet with a javelin and also stoned him. The face of the Prophet was also wounded, and he had fallen down from the horse. Khalid bin Walid started shouting with a loud voice, "The lying Prophet is slain!" Upon which, without stopping to ascertain, the followers of Islam fled panic-stricken. So this caused a chaos among the Muslims during the battlefield, during the chaos, that the Prophet has died, and now what we should do. So the wounded Prophet was left in the battlefield with only Ali, Hamza, and Abu Dujana and Zakwan to defend him. Okay, these brave warriors fought fiercely And during this encounter, Hamza was killed, and Zakwan and Abu Dujana lay seriously wounded, and Imam Ali left alone in the battlefield. He had received 16 wounds, but he searched and found the Holy Prophet lying wounded and surrounded by enemies under the command of Khalid, who were trying to kill him. Imam Ali fought against these 6 men, killed 2 of them, and scattered the rest. Then he lifted the Holy Prophet and carried him to a mount and continued attacking the rallying armies of the enemy. He kept on shouting that the Holy Prophet was alive and calling the Muslims to come back. These Muslims who had not fled very far away came back, saw the wounded Prophet, and saw his daughter Fatima, who had come out of Medina hearing the rumor of her father's death, attending on him. The Muslims took heart and gathered again under the command of Imam Ali and started fighting again. And victory was gained. The most peculiar aspect of this battle was that the greed of Muslim warriors had converted a hard-earned victory into an ignominious defeat, and Ali had reconverted this defeat into a glorious victory. So this was Battle of Uhud. There was Battle of Khaybar. That is one of the famous battles of Imam Ali. Yeah, the Battle of Khaybar. Khaybar was the province which the Jews had occupied since the time of their banishment from Palestine. It contained a few fortresses. The biggest of them was called Qamus, which was on a steep hill. In these fortresses, they started gathering in large numbers, and in the end they raised an army of about 10 to 12,000 warriors and were scheming to march on Medina. Hearing these serious news, the Holy Prophet decided to face them at Khaybar only. He marched at the head of an army of 3,000 soldiers. This battle took place in Muharram in 7 AH. So when it comes to dates, again, this is history. In my opinion, in history, when it is written down, it's not 100% accurate, and one should read it as history, you know. And yeah, so Imam Ali then was suffering from sore eyes and was left at Medina. The Muslim army succeeded in defeating the Jews in minor skirmishes, but when they tried to capture the main fort of Qamus, they had to face a retreat. They could not succeed though they tried for days at a stretch. The defeats sustained there were sadly demoralizing the Muslim army. The Holy Prophet had allowed every important person to command the Muslim forces day after day, but each day the result was fresh defeat, fresh demoralization, fresh boldness of Jews, and increasing danger of some more clans. Emboldened by the weakness and defeat of Muslims joining hands with the Jews, there were still many of those tribes who were very hostile to Islam and wanted to harm it. But the victories at Badr, Uhud, and Khandaq, that was also a battle, Khandaq made them nervous. The news of the defeat at Khaybar was making them bold. The Jews of Khaybar, united by an ancient alliance with Bedouin horde of the Bani Ghatafan, were working for the formation of powerful coalition against Muslims. And the Holy Prophet knew fully well the power possessed by the desert races to harm Muslims. So there were further danger of munafiqeen. Munafiqeen were hypocrites who knew that it was the truth but still denied the message. Staging a revolt in Medina, prompt measures were needed to avert these evils. Only a victory could have saved the situation, which was getting more and more critical day by day. The Prophet was himself ill and sadly felt the need of Ali at his side. He knew that though ill, yet Ali had not left him alone and had followed him therefore. Whether ill or healthy, Ali had to come to the succor of Muslims, Islam, and the Holy Prophet. When the news of the last disastrous ripples of the Muslims was brought to him, the Holy Prophet said, tomorrow I shall give the command, the standard, the flag that, when you're about to march, to attack, of his army to a man who is brave, who will keep on attacking, who will not run away from the battlefield, who loves Allah and His Prophet and is beloved by Allah and His Prophet, and who will not come back to me without success. Next day Ali was called from his bed and was handed over the command. He took the fort by storm, killed Marhab, Antar, Murrah, Harith, and 4 other chiefs of the Jew tribes in hand-to-hand combats. So Marhab was a really good fighter. He was huge, it was like David and Goliath, So hand-to-hand combats, broke open the door of the fort single-handedly, carried his army again inside the fort, and within 4 hours he hoisted the flag of Islam on the biggest fortress of Arabia, and thus once more saved Islam from a disastrous end. So now this, I would like to mention that this incident, when it mentions broke open the door of fort single-handedly. So in this book, it just mentions that the guy, Imam Ali, broke open the door single-handedly. Okay, so when it comes to theatrics, when it comes to storytelling, some of the group of people exaggerate that, the door was really huge and it took a lot, like huge men to open it, and Imam Ali destroyed it single-handedly, and I mean, yeah, I understand he was strong and all, but he was not Superman, right? And now this is totally my opinion. These were people who had miracles and God on their side, but in my opinion, God doesn't work in the obvious ways. He works in subtle ways. Even if you look at the evolution of this world, of this universe, I mean, it is said that God created the universe in 6 days in the Quran. He said kun, be, and it got created. So in 6 days he had to create it. Now there are several discussions that these light years are not, and that is a separate dimension of research. But the point I'm trying to make is that he creates the creation, whether it's animals, universe, planets, human beings. He creates through a process, So, and most of the time, we think it's a tree is coming out of the ground. It's a subtle it's a subtle process, and nobody looks at it as a miracle. Like you put a seed in the ground, and in about certain months and days, a plant pops out. Now, on some level, it's obvious, yeah, it's going to come out. But it's also subtle. And it also creates this confusion in one's head that if someone says it's a miracle, okay, how can a seed become a plant? And given the care and the water, the sunlight and all of that. So, for some it's a miracle, for some it's just science. But I say that science is religion, if you try to understand. It's a process. Science is basically a process through which you can understand God. So the point was that how history, how groups of people, when they reach to a certain faith, they go to extremes. And it's not just Islam, it's other belief systems. And if you just take out the religious aspect of it, when people love someone, they take it to extremes. When people like food, some people take it to extremes. So extreme of everything is bad. Okay, and even in the Quran it says that do not take your religion, do not have use your religion, do not believe in this religion and go to extremes, okay? There are leniencies in Islam, yes. I know there are certain rules that we have to abide by, but these rules contain the chaos and the animalistic qualities of man, okay? That's why there are rules. That's why they're not just religion rules. Even if you look at countries, that's why there are laws and punishments for certain crimes, so that everybody should be, kept in check and they don't follow their animalistic qualities. So anyway, we were at the news of the success so pleased the Prophet that he, though ill, came out to greet the victor, embraced him and said, Ali, had I not been afraid that Muslims would start regarding you as the Christians regard the Christ, I would have said things about you which would have made the Muslims venerate you and to consider the dust of your feet as something worth venerating. But it will suffice to say that you are from me and I am from you. You will inherit me and I will inherit you. You are to me what Aaron was to Moses. You will fight for my cause. You will be nearest to me on the day of judgment. You will be next to me on the fountain of Khosar. Enmity against you is enmity against me. A war against you is a war against me. Your friendship is my friendship. To be at peace with you is to be at peace with me. Your flesh is my flesh. Your blood is my blood. Who will obey you will obey me. Truth is on your tongue, in your heart, and in your mind. You have as much faith in Allah as I have. You are adored to me as per orders of Allah. I give you the tidings that your supporters will be rewarded in paradise and your enemies will be punished in hell. So yes, he was a really, really important part of Islam and still is. But some people take it to extremes. There was a group that I was reading. I will start putting specific videos on specific content. There was a group that started believing that Jibreel, the angel that brought revelation to Muhammad, was somehow, he made a mistake, that instead of going to Ali, he went to Muhammad. So there was a group that believed that. I think it was Arabia or something, but I will put down references or make a video in specific on that. But yeah, there were groups that take certain things to extremes. That's why there are sects. And not just in Islam, it's in Christianity. Okay, there are sects. And Islam, in Quran, it says that do not split into sects. Okay. So technically we are doing the stuff that is forbidden to us, but that is what human being is. That is how God will be able to distinguish between the good and the bad. Okay, so now comes the incidents that said that after the Prophet, who will lead the Muslim Ummah? Okay, so in this book, Nahjul Balaghah, there are some instances, events that are mentioned here that incline towards that he said that he was supposed to lead the Muslim Ummah. So the first occasion was when the Holy Prophet was ordered by Allah to invite his kith and kin to Islam openly. This occasion is called Dawud Ashira, propagation of the religion amongst their relatives. In the words of Revelation, I think, the Holy Prophet said, God hath commanded me to call you unto him. Who therefore among you will be assisting me herein and become my brother? All of them hesitating and declining the matter, Ali at length rose up and declared that he would be his assistant and threatened those who should oppose him. Muhammad upon this embraced Ali with great demonstration of affection and desired all those present to hear him and to obey him as his deputy. Thus, at this occasion of the introduction of Islam, a religion, Imam Ali was declared by the Holy Prophet as his deputy. The value of Ali's support to the Holy Prophet and his designation at this stage is fairly well assessed by the theologians, historians, and thinkers. The second occasion was at the time of Ali's conquest to Khaybar. Now, previously that I mentioned that you are like to me as Aaron was to Moses. The words of the Holy Prophet quite clearly, positively, and expressively give out his opinion about Imam Ali and a desire to leave him as the guardian and the propagator of his mission. And he said, "You are from me and I am from you. You will inherit me," and which are the things I mentioned earlier. You are to me what Aaron was to Moses. You will be nearest to me on the day of judgment and next to me on the fountain of Khosr. Okay. Now, the third instance was the event of the invasion of Tabuk. It was the Battle of Tabuk. To understand the occasion and cause of remarks of the Prophet, it is necessary to know the historical background of the incident. It was the summer of 9 AH, and the Holy Prophet had received the information that the Roman king was mobilizing his forces to invade the Islamic State. And many Arab tribes were gathering around. He decided to face them in their own land and not to allow them to trample the Muslim state, so that they might not destroy the lands through which they pass. The situation had become very critical because there was famine in Hijaz, Taif, and Yemen. The Munafiqeen, the hypocrites, were carrying on intensive propaganda campaign and trying to make the people believe that the famine was the sign that Allah was displeased with Muslims and wanted to exterminate them with the worst form of death, cannibalism. And in case of a defeat against the Roman armies, there was an imminent danger of revolt. It was imperative that the state should be left in the hands of a faithful and powerful guardian, otherwise there was very possibility of its being crushed between the two armies. The Prophet therefore decided that Imam Ali should act as a regent in his place, and people might also realize that in the opinion of the Holy Prophet, none could look after the temporal as well as spiritual welfare of the Muslims during his absence but Ali. He called Ali and told him that he would have to act as the last line of defense for him and Islam, saying, "O Ali, nobody could guard the Muslim state but you or I." Imam Ali's stay at Medina disappointed the hypocrites, and as they constituted the majority of those left behind by the Holy Prophet, they started a cold war. They started their propaganda by saying that the Holy Prophet had lost faith in Imam Ali and had therefore left him behind, and that it was certain that the Prophet was going to suffer a defeat. Imam Ali naturally felt anxious for the Prophet and annoyed at aspersions against him. He left Medina immediately, met the Prophet at the place of Yuruf, and told him all that was said in his absence. Thereupon the Holy Prophet said, "Ali, they are lying against you, and they are lying against you as they have lied against me. They have called me an epileptic, a magician, a sorcerer, and a necromancer, and have always styled me as a liar. I have appointed you as my vicegerent and my successor over all which I have left behind, and you not satisfied to realize that you are to me what Aaron was to Moses." Okay, so this was the third instance where he said that he mentioned that after him, he should take over. According to this book, according to Shia. Ghadir Khum was the fourth event, notably the occasion of the return journey from the performance of the farewell pilgrimage. During a halt at a place called Khum, he had convoked an assembly of the people accompanying him and used the words which could leave no doubt as to his attention regarding a successor. Ali said, "He is to me what Aaron was to Moses. The Almighty Allah be a friend to his friends and a foe to his foes, help those who help him and frustrate those who betray him. I would be doing a great disservice to the cause of truth and to the history of Islam if I do not sketch an outline of this incident, because more than 50,000 people had gathered on the occasion of Ghadir Khum, and many of them narrated all that took place there. Among those narrators were find such luminaries as Caliph Abu Bakr, Caliph Umar, Caliph Usman, Zubair bin Awam, Abdullah bin Umar." So these are names that were present there. Okay, from these narrators, about 153 historians, biographers, collectors of the Prophet's traditions, and authors of siras, mujums, and masanids from the 1st century AH right up to 1300 AH have narrated the whole incident in detail and have drawn practically the same inference as the author of the Spirit of Islam has done.